Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Iannella. I will be chairing the meeting this afternoon. I'd like to introduce the other counselors. Is Counselor Joseph Ferrara,
Good afternoon.
Counselor Marilyn Petito Davane,
Thank you.
and there's Counselor Eileen Duff, Counselor Mary Hurley, Counselor Robert Juvenville, Counselor Paul DiPaolo, and Counselor Terrence Kennedy. At this point, I'd like to read a letter addressed to the Governor's Council on May 5th. Dear councilors, I am pleased to nominate Honor Segal to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. Sincerely, Charles Baker, Governor. And before we hear from you, Judge, I know you have some very distinguished folks who want to testify on your behalf. And without any further ado, we'll first hear from the senior judge, Omar Hernandez. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here as always. And today is a day of mixed emotions for me because District Court hopefully will get a truly fine judge, but I'm losing a great judge. I just want to say she's just been a wonderful addition to the DIA. When she came to us about 4 or 5 years ago, she made the transition from attorney to a judge just absolutely seamless. She's a workhorse. She's never had an overdue decision. Just a true, what epitomizes what a judge is: empathy, compassion, understanding of the law. I couldn't ask for a better candidate for the trial court. So I'll keep it brief. I know it's, today's her day, and I'm not here for myself. So I respectfully ask for your vote. And again, I'm thrilled for her, but sad for me. So
Thank you very much. Good
Yep.
to see you, Judge.
Good to see you.
Excuse me, Judge.
Oh, sorry.
Counselor
Yes.
Davane has a question.
You know you're not getting away.
I know.
How many years ago was it when I first voted for you?
18 years. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Every year.
No,
Every day is on my face.
My proudest vote, and I think 3 times I voted for you, and rightfully so that you are the chief chair of the board. I am, you got some vacancies over there now.
Yes, I do. Yes, we have.
Well, I hope that the governor gets the message that 4 people missing makes a big difference.
It does.
And now it'll be 5.
Yes.
So anyway, but I thank you for all you do. So tell me, we don't see you sitting in that chair, so it is quite a tribute to this nominee to have you here. So tell me what impresses you the most about her being a judge?
I'm going to give you a little story. We had judicial support issues. It was a lot. She took it upon herself to almost schedule her own cases, maintain her own calendar, and never missed a beat. And for her to do that for the number of cases I gave her, because it was busy. Again, no overdue decisions, always not even on time, early to the bench. The respect of the bar. That's who she is. I could, and I mean this, could not ask for a finer judge down the board. So that's why I say today is a mixed emotions today. I am absolutely thrilled that hopefully she will be voted, favorably.
Yeah, I understand. It's
yeah,
bittersweet for you.
Yeah, but
but,
she truly a workhorse. If I said, Judge Segal, I need you to cover these 6 cases here out in Worcester. Sure. I sent her to Springfield. She did it without even saying, well, maybe, no, yes. That was her answer. Yes, no problem.
Yeah.
And I think she carries that work ethic throughout her career. And I assure you she will carry that into her next endeavor.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming in person.
Oh,
I
of
hate
course.
Zoom. I want to look right in your eyes.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge. I don't have any questions. What a job you're doing at the Department.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Department of the Industrial Accidents. Fantastic job. Everyone has the highest regard for you and continue the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
Next, we'll hear
Thank you.
from
Second up.
Attorney Sean Flaherty from the law firm of Ketchy's Law Group.
I think I've seen this guy in billboards before. I'm not sure. Fortunately, you probably have, Councilor Ferrara. Good afternoon, Governor's Councilors. It's a privilege to be in your presence, and a big thank you to Chairman Christopher Iannella for having me here today. Honor Segal, when I first met Honor Segal, she was a practicing lawyer at the Commonwealth, and she was a wonderful, wonderful lawyer, and one who made a very good first opinion of myself here. She's the type of judge and the type of lawyer that really cares. She, throughout her years on the bench at the DIA, she was gracious, kind, judicious, and represented the Commonwealth in an absolutely fabulous way. She was an absolute workhorse. She was on that bench early. She stayed on that bench late. She worked through lunch, and she was a real credit to this group of people that put her in that spot originally. And I have no doubt whatsoever that she's going to continue to be an absolute credit to these counselors and to Governor Baker when she takes the bench as a district court judge for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I echo what Judge Hernandez said, that it is a great loss for us as practicing lawyers to lose somebody with the judicial grace that Judge Honor Segal has. But with that, I do wish her nothing but the best, and I know that she will do absolutely wonderful things later on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions, Councilor DeVan?
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for coming in person.
Thank you.
How many years have you known the nominee?
I've known the nominee for going on a decade at this point in time, both as a practicing lawyer and then appearing before her countless times as a practicing attorney.
Okay. So, so you really have seen her demeanor and tell me, okay, can you give me one attribute that comes to mind when you think of this nominee?
I can, Counselor. The single thing that when I was sitting down to prepare and go over things that really stuck out to me was that there were multiple times, one that is in my memory, where a case was being heard in an adjacent courtroom, and she had finished up for the day, and she came into the courtroom on a highly contentious case with multiple witnesses and multiple lawyers, 8 lawyers in the room, battling over evidentiary things, and Judge Segal was in the back of that courtroom, didn't need to be there, but she was there taking notes, listening and learning. And, you know, that was just a couple of years ago. She certainly could have been elsewhere working on other things, but I think she found it incumbent upon herself to really take that extra step and to watch more trials and watch more stuff go on at the DIA. And I think it's that attitude that she's going to bring to the district court that's going to set her apart.
That's great. Judge Hernandez talked about her compassion. You see that?
Absolutely. Undoubtedly. Compassionate. Just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
Couldn't be a better choice.
well, compassion, they're tired of hearing me say it, but I don't vote for anyone if they don't have compassion and empathy. That's very important for a judge, you know? So she's shown that on this board. That's great.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your testimony. It means a lot.
Thank you very much. Again,
Counselors, thank you.
I have no questions. Your testimony means a great deal to me, and I'm sure it means a great deal to the other counselors. You have such a great reputation. You run an outstanding law firm, and it's always a pleasure to see you.
Counselor, I thank you for your time and attention today, and thank you to all. Any further questions or follow-up you may have, let me
I go
know.
by your billboard every day too. Getting a little annoying.
It's getting, it's not only you that finds it annoying, believe me.
I wanted to say I concur with both counselors.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Councilor Ferrara. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. At this point, that will exhaust the folks who will speak in favor of the judge's nomination. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to the appointment of Honor Segal? There being no one in opposition, that will close that portion of the hearing. And at this point, we will hear from you, Judge. If you could give us a brief presentation as to your work experience and why you think you would be a good district court judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Good afternoon, counselors. As you are aware, my name is Honor Segal. I would like to thank the Governor and Lieutenant Governor for the nomination to Associate Justice of the District Court. Thank you to Chief Legal Counsel Bob Ross. Thank you, JNC Executive Director Lauren Green Petrino and Deputy Director Emily Gauthier for their guidance through this process. Thank you, Valerie McCarthy, Administrative Secretary at the Governor's Council Office, for your communications and assistance. Thank you to each member of the council for taking the time to consider this nomination. And a special thank you to Councilor Iannella, my district councilor, for hosting me. Thank you to my sister Kara, who is here today, and my mother Carol, sister Meredith, and brothers-in-law Chris and Danny, who are here virtually due to COVID-related concerns. Thank you to my witnesses, Senior Judge Omar Hernandez and Attorney Sean Flaherty. Thank you to all my friends who are here virtually to support me today. Judge Joseph Spinelli, DIA General Counsel Kevin O'Leary, Conciliator Adam Knight, and Tracy Downs, and to all of my other friends who are watching. A special thank you to Judge Robert A. Cornetta, Judge Cesar Archia, and Patrick Collins for writing letters of support to the JNC on my behalf. And of course, thank you to the members of the JNC and Joint Bar for forwarding my name to the governor's office. I come before you today humbled by both the nomination and the opportunity to be considered by this council for the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. My parents, Carol and Ronnie, met in college. They raised 3 daughters in Peabody, Massachusetts. My mother, the daughter of a World War I veteran and a telephone company worker, was the first in her family to go to college. She taught us, through example, to be kind and to look for the good in people and to lift people up whenever possible. She volunteered with battered women in the 1970s and 80s. She earned a master's degree at night while my sisters and I were in grade school. She became a social worker investigating cases of elder abuse and neglect. My father was a self-made man, the son of a meat packing plant worker and an immigrant mother who lifted herself up by the bootstraps to become a real estate agent. My father worked as a janitor and a teamster to put himself through law school. He then entered private practice, focusing on criminal defense. He has been my inspiration. My father passed in 2006 after a brief battle with lung cancer and has been missed every day since. I can't imagine how proud he would be to see me sitting before you today. My sisters and I attended Salem State University all at the same time, graduating in successive years. Meredith and I went to law school together at UNH Law. All 3 of us became lawyers. I have been a practicing lawyer for 16 years, and prior to that, I worked as a paralegal in my father's law firm upon college graduation in 2000. I continued as a paralegal through the summers of law school. When I graduated and passed the bar, I became an associate attorney in the firm. During this time, I worked on a wide assortment of criminal matters and a small array of civil matters. I was fortunate to hone legal research and writing skills and be mentored by my father and his partner, Stephen Judge, in courtroom decorum, trial advocacy, and client relations. After losing my father, the firm dissolved, and I am extremely grateful to District Attorney Jonathan Blodgett for appointing me as an Assistant District Attorney in Essex County. This is where I really cut my teeth, developed trial skills, forged many lasting friendships with coworkers, court personnel, opposing counsel, and law enforcement officers. In 2010, I was recruited out of the DA's office by a highly regarded law firm, the law offices of John Andrews, PC. Here, I expanded into the civil practice realm. I represented clients in a wide variety of matters, including personal injury, small claims, commercial real estate, domestic relations, but focused most heavily on criminal matters. In 2012, I accepted a position at the House of Representatives, working for the then House Chair of the Joint Committee on Financial Services as Senior Banking Analyst and Legal Counsel. In 2013, I was quite fortunate to return to litigation practice at the Department of Industrial Accidents Legal Department. As Assistant General Counsel, my duties were varied. I represented the Workers' Compensation Trust Fund in uninsured injury claims and second injury fund claims, but mainly I was responsible for statutory enforcement. I represented the Office of Investigations and stop work order appeal hearings each week. I ran the criminal unit, prosecuting private employers who failed to carry workers' compensation insurance policies. In addition, I pursued statutory recoupment cases in the Superior and District Courts. I became a lawyer because I wanted to help people. A calling through different means both of my parents answered in their careers. The Department of Industrial Accidents appointment has allowed me to help individual injured workers by providing finality and resolution for cases that are otherwise unable to be resolved without judicial intervention. I want to have a positive impact on the lives of individuals and whole communities. I want to be a district court judge because the community aspect is something unique to the district court, a place where a judge can make a difference. I believe that every person deserves to be treated with respect, courtesy, and dignity, and that every person deserves his or her day in court. That is how I treat people and what I would bring to the district court bench, along with my broad-based experience in the practice of law. Again, thank you to each counselor for your time and consideration of my nomination. I ask you to confirm my nomination. I am available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Before we ask the counselors if they have any questions, I do want to acknowledge the presence of your sister, Kara. Good to see you. Thank you. At this point, we'll hear from Counselor Mary Hurley.
Thank you, Councilor Iannella. We had a very nice conversation that lasted some length, and you indicated that you'd even been to Orange District Court. Is that correct?
That is correct, Counselor.
And you had to travel 3 hours to get there,
Yes,
so that you were totally committed to your job, and there was no way you were shirking your responsibilities, even though you had to travel 3 hours. Have you seen a downturn in the number of workers' comp cases due to the pandemic?
I have not. And if there is a downturn in the number, it just hasn't reached the point in the process where it would come before an administrative judge for a conference.
Okay. Well, I have checked you out in terms of your performance as a DIA judge, and you got nothing but high ratings from the people I talked to. We had a great conversation. I think you've got a wonderful background with varied experience, and I think you make a great district court judge. So thank you very much. I really don't have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Counselor Hurley. Next, we'll hear from Counselor Joseph Ferrara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Judge, for your service. You've done some remarkable things here, from an ADA to Assistant General Counsel, the executive branch, to your job the last 5 years as a judge. I have many letters and many phone calls regarding your extraordinary abilities on the bench, and you've proven yourself for the last 5 years. Of course, when you came here 5 years ago, You showed yourself to be a great candidate then, and now through your work, you've proven yourself to be even a better candidate. There's no doubt in my mind you're going to be an exceptional district court judge, and you have my full support next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Ferrara. Counselor DiPaolo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our conversation and talking with folks who reached out to me, I was impressed by a couple things. We had occasion to talk a little bit about brain development and the way juveniles find their way into the system and eventually into district court. And your background as a psychology major gave me confidence in addition to our conversation around your expertise there. You shared with me a great story about an issue of translation and making sure that folks accessing the courthouse are made to feel comfortable, and ensuring that even if they're indicating they understand, that there's the extra step to ensure fully that they're understanding what's going on, especially with the challenges of translation of legalese. So all I want to ask you for the hearing is something else we talked about, and that is if you take this role as a district court judge, will you use your position throughout your career to mentor and potentially recruit underrepresented groups to the bench, including women and attorneys of color?
I will absolutely do that, Counselor.
And I'm convinced of that from our conversations, and I think you're a great nominee, and I look forward to supporting you at our next assembly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Counselor DiPaolo. Next, we'll hear from Counselor Eileen Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are you? Great to see you, Judge. I'm glad that you're here today. I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions. Have you any experience because what's interesting about you is that you've been on both sides. You've been a prosecutor and you've been a defense attorney, and then you've just finished your most recent job. And I think that's a really great combination that we very, very rarely see in district court. We usually see somebody who has one or another, and yet it's, we say it's the people's court, the common court. So your background is perfectly suited for this. Some of the issues or folks I'm concerned about are people with any type of disability, be that a physical disability or people with special needs, maybe Asperger's, one of the many, many things that are on the spectrum. Have you ever had any, and this is not a trick question, I'm just curious because more and more we deal with these issues, all of us in our everyday life. Have you any experience dealing with this community, or particularly in court with this community at all?
Yes, I have, Counselor.
Okay, good, thank you. And I think that that is very helpful, and we know that the chiefs have been doing a tremendous, tremendous job in educating as much as they can, so it alleviates some of the pressure on folks. Another community that I'm a member of that I'm very concerned about is the LGBTQ community. And we have, not just an epidemic of homeless kids from this community, kids that don't feel safe either at home or living in foster homes, which to me is absolutely a tragic thing. But the problem is it often ends up that they're on the streets and they turn to crime of different sorts, sometimes sex work, which is incredibly dangerous. And, I always say committing a crime, just for survival, it doesn't absolve you of the crime, but how we treat people does really matter. Have you any experience with this community as well?
I do, Counselor, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to belabor these questions. I could go on and on and on. But you and I spoke very extensively, in addition to the people who are really supporting your nomination. But what gives me, the best is our personal conversations. And I feel very confident in your ability. And again, one other quick question. How do you think your work at DIA has help prepare you perhaps for the district court?
Thank you for that question. So at DIA, I preside over matters that have two opposing parties. The same rules of evidence apply at the DIA. It's the same standard of proof as in a civil case in the district court, and as well as restraining orders. In my role as administrative judge, I issue temporary orders. I rule on motions. I take testimony. And I write decisions, which include findings of fact and rulings of law. So these are skills that are transferable to the district court.
They're absolutely transferable and they're wonderful skills to have. So on that, Mr. Chair, I'm finished with my questions. Thank you so much for your time, Judge.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Counselor Robert Juvenville.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any questions. You come from a great legal family. You've done a great job at the DIA, and I'm going to vote for you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Next, we'll hear from Counselor Marilyn Petito Devaney.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for all the time. We met 4 years ago and we met in the same place and we spent 4 hours again. I just want to, how your journey to come here. So you applied in 2019
Mhm.
and what happened? Is that the same time that you applied for this one?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
All right.
that was.
Okay, so
same-
you went before the JNC
Yes.
and were there very many people there? There's 21 and they're the ones that choose who's going to be appointed?
Yes, it was done mostly virtually because of the virus. So there were many members that were participating virtually, so that there was a screen with squares,
Right.
by Zoom,
Yeah.
by Zoom.
Isn't Zoom wonderful? Yeah. So I always talk about compassion and empathy. And I always have to smile because I think I know what the answer is going to be. Was Mr. Dacia there, the chair?
Yes,
And did he ask about empathy?
yes.
Yeah, he's stealing my line. What did he ask?
He has to,
Definition?
yes.
Okay, that's what he asks all the time. Okay, so I thought of you today. When I heard the news today in East Cambridge, I was heartsick. I don't know what's happening to our society, but there's people out there that are putting acid on cats and killing them with BB guns. And these are pets. These are people's pets. And it's just so upsetting to me. And I remember one of your cases, and I was very impressed with it. So can you tell us about that one that you had about that horrendous case about the animal abuse?
Sure. And I would say that that animal cruelty prosecutions are cases that really stuck with me from my days in the DA's office. I handled a number of those. I also wrote jury instructions for animal cruelty, which didn't exist at the time. The matter you're speaking of involved the House of Horrors in a North Shore town. An individual had taken a number of neighborhood cats into the house, and I do believe that he intended to care for them, but was not able to. And the conditions within the house were horrific, to the point where there were many cats that were blinded from living in filthy conditions. But MSPCA officers went in, they took the cats. As a result of the prosecution, the animals were surrendered, they were saved, and the individual who had been charged was able to receive the services that he needed as well.
Unfortunately, there's too many of those cases happening, isn't it? So I was impressed with how long it took and to get justice about when you were a criminal defense attorney and you had a juvenile and he had a weapon and, well, why don't you tell us the rest of the story? And so then he was like 30 years old and you picked up on that case? That, yeah, he wanted to be a police officer?
Oh, yes, yes. That was a matter of a juvenile prosecution from the 1990s. And after having pled out on the juvenile matter, that individual did graduate high school. He did 2 tours of duty overseas. And when he returned, he wanted to become a police officer, but was unable to do so because he was unable to get a firearms license because of that plea. So I did handle a motion for new trial on that case, and ultimately the individual was able to get the plea overturned, so he was able to become a police officer.
That's really great. I'll tell you why that really resonated with me, because I had a friend that was a correctional officer. And when he was 17, he did something really dumb. And it sounds crazy when you think of it, but one of his friends wanted to get his records in the high school. He thought if he took the records off, that his bad marks would be recorded somewhere, whatever. So they broke into the school and they got they got the record and everything. So now he's a correctional officer and he's had so many citations from the highest people in Massachusetts. I've seen some of them. He had about 10 or 11 of them. And he has an opportunity to get a promotional, to move up promotionally. And because of that record, that is holding him up, because it prevents him from having a weapon. And to have this other position, higher position, it requires having a revolver. Unfortunately, he didn't have a compassionate judge. And here he is, 40 years old, and she refused him. So he can never get that promotion because of that. And from my understanding, I don't think he can go back again to court on that. And so when I read that, I thought, thank God for you. He would not be a police officer. And unfortunately, my friend will never, ever get a promotion and will stay in the position that he's in. It's not fair. So not all judges are fair, and not all judges have compassion. And that was one of the 4 attributes that you thought were important, and I really like that. So that really resonated with me. So one of the other one was, and it's so important because not everyone knows the language, and it's very hard for them to represent themselves. And sometimes a judge is not understanding of that. Do you remember the case that I'm talking about that you had, and he didn't know the language and he was coming before you? I think it was on the board. I think it was on the board in recent years that he came up before you, disabled. I'm sorry, but I just read that, so I don't know. But you interceded because you knew he didn't know the language and he was being misinterpreted what he was trying to say, and he was unable to work. So.
I think it's important to make sure.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay, because we talked about a lot of things, and one of the things, and I said to you when we met, I couldn't figure out how you left a law practice and went into the House on the financial board or whatever, and it was very important. And so how did you do that, and how did you make it a year and leave? And can you tell me about that?
Sure. So
Or tell us about it. I know.
yes, so I was actually sought for the position. It was someone that I knew from the practice of law. that had recommended that I apply for that position. And it was exciting to me to work on legislation, especially as a lawyer and having been a practicing lawyer. To me, that was an unbelievable opportunity to work in a building like this on important legislation such as the mortgage bill when that came through, or the mortgage reform. I worked in that position for a year and a half. So it started at the beginning of 2012 and worked there until August of 2013, when the opportunity to work back in litigation over at the DIA presented itself. So that's why I was in that position for about a year and a half.
I want to go back to you applying because you have it down District Court 2019 that you were not recommended by the J&C. How is that? Is that so that is a different time that you applied then?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that now I understand. So did you have an interview at that time?
I did.
And what do they do? Send you a letter afterwards, or how do they follow up on that?
Yes, the letter sent.
And would they say you're not going to be?
Yes, essentially.
Okay. So, yeah, I was impressed 4 years ago when we met, and, when I saw your name again, I thought, wow, that's great. Now, going back to district attorney, now you've had a lot of experience in criminal cases. So what stands out to you looking back that was the most rewarding outcome of that case?
Well, I would circle back to the matter that we spoke of, the animal cruelty matter, where there were dozens of cats that had been saved from that house. So that's something, the lives of animals really, really is something that should be considered, much like a human life. So that was quite rewarding to me to have that number of animals saved and rescued and, in homes that were safe.
Yeah. So in your various positions that you've had, I know they all are important and contributing for you to be, a good judge in the district court. Is there one position that you can think of that contributes most for you to be the best judge?
I would say the position at the Department of Industrial Accidents as an administrative judge.
Right. I was thinking that, but I don't know all the cases. But I know we've had in the past some people that weren't as compassionate on the board. A couple of them, I think, in the last 21 years, I know. And it is important because they're there, to put food on the table and to be treated with respect. And I have followed you. You have been always respectful to people. And I know you'll be the same as a judge on the district court. But I think all of your experience contributes to that. And I'm very glad that I had the opportunity the second time around for you. And thank you for applying. I know that Judge Hernandez is very, very disappointed you're going, but he's very happy for you. And so I wish you all good luck in your job. And thank you for all your past work and all you've done. And I think that, we covered quite a lot when we met. And I think that it would be repetitious if I went through some of your cases, but I think you have the mix of criminal and civil. I don't like to see someone going to court without criminal, because I think it's important to be able to make decisions based on your experience with some of those horrendous cases that you have had. So I thank you, and I think I've completed my questioning.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
Thank you.
Counselor Devaney. I don't have any questions. We had a lengthy conversation. You explained to me that, I think it was 2006 to 2000, 10, you worked in the DA's office. You indicated to me that you handled several criminal cases during that period of time. So you have the criminal experience, obviously, because when you look at the district court, many cases are criminal and many, I'm sure, say personal injury cases, dealing with injury cases. Obviously, your experience at the DIA, you've handled many, even hundreds of injury cases. So clearly you have a great balance between criminal and civil. What a nice demeanor you have. Seems like you have the perfect judgment. You clearly have the experience. What's left? Nothing left. I'm sure it's a proud day for you and your family. Your witnesses were phenomenal. I have such high respect and regard for Senior Judge Omar Hernandez, as well as Attorney Sean Flaherty, two outstanding individuals. When your name comes before the council next week, I will be more than happy to put your name forward, and I wish you and your family the very, very best. You are going to be a great addition and a credit to the district court. Thank you.
Counselor.
That will conclude the hearing. Thank you.
Great job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.